No, it's an honour, honestly, being here, and thanks for the kind words, and Rohan watching it as well, and for prospecting me effectively on Twitter, which I never thought would come to this, but it has, and that's quite amazing, to be honest with you. You're probably wondering, the glasses, they are here. I'll just put them on to prove that I am not an imposter and that I exist. But I don't wear them all the time. I'll explain about them in a minute. But there you are. So yeah, the way I do my talks is, I was trying to say to the guys, it's very informal. I'll probably talk for a bit, bore you to death, and then you'll ask the questions as to whatever you want to ask. I think I'll start probably when I was about 13, and then I'll tell you how I came to apply for the Apprentice, a bit about the application process, what it's like on the Apprentice, and then what's happened since. Because a lot of the stuff you'll find, the questions like, did it take 20 minutes to get ready in the morning, these kind of things, you can find online, you can ask for them. I'm not going to bite you, I'll answer the question, don't get me wrong, but like, I'd ask you, and it's just an ask, because I have to do a few of these talks. Think of a question that you can't find out online, right? Something that's interesting, different, like you can ask how large what sugar's like, I'm sure you want to know, all those things I will address, it's fine. But yeah, consider your questions, because, yeah, that's all I'm saying. Okay. So when I was 13, it's probably the earliest memory I can think, like entrepreneurial-wise. The first thing that I did, my family is a jewellery family, so we've had a store for about 60, 70 years, different stores, businesses, etc. So I've always run the dinner table, and also Jewish, right? So I've run the dinner table every Friday night, not religious, but cultural. And we'd have a dinner table, and my father, my grandfather would always discuss business, much to my mother and grandmother and all the females, which are the very few in my family, despise. Always business, it's just constantly by osmosis, like being in my brain, basically. As much as when you watch The Apprentice you thought I had no business sense, I have a little bit, right? We'll come to that as well. So, age 13, I started a school not too dissimilar to this, called Manchester Grammar School. You may have seen it. They tell me it's in the top 2.5%. You'll tell me, your teacher will tell me you're in the top 1%. I don't know, it doesn't make a difference to me. They're all good schools, right? And it's a similar setup, right? Your parents are paying fees. I won't go into those because that's political, but they're paying fees, right? And there is an expectation that it will come out with good grades, but that's the same with any school, comprehensive, private, public, whatever. So I'm in this school, and I'm looking at there's 1,000 kids, and I'm thinking to myself, where can I find opportunity here to make some money? As I'm sure some of you are interested in making money, or just the whole process, not necessarily can I buy a new pair of trainers, but it's just interesting, and it's an enjoyable process to some people. And the obvious thing was, people need feeding, right? So like, what's the easiest thing? It's sweets. So I literally then decided, my parents had a Costco card. One day we were at Costco, I said to myself, how about I take £50, I put it into like strawberry laces, you name it, all these different things, and I'll literally just carry my rucksack, and it was the heaviest thing ever. It was like 20 kilos. I just like carried it in school, and I'm short now, and I was shorter then, I assure you. Still the same waist, but I was shorter. I just started selling them, and at some point I was like earning £100 a week in my back pocket. And at that point, when you're 13, you're like, wow, this is like decent money. My parents thought they could retire. It was a little bit too early for that, but yeah, I was doing quite well. It was my first exposure, and I was doing this for quite some time. And then you get other people trying to do it, and this different things, and you stop doing it yourself. And basically, I then had like a decent amount of money, so I had like £2,000–3,000 at this point. I've been doing it for quite a while. Then Livestrong bands, I'm not sure, I'm like 24, I feel young, but to you guys I'm probably quite old. They were a big thing, they're like the plastic kind of silicone band, if you recall. There was always one for a cause, there was a Kick-Out Racing, Nike one, different ones. They were a big thing. And I was like, okay, rather than buying 1s and 2s and trading them, everyone else was, I'll buy like 100 of these things. I bought from China, I was negotiating on the phone. I remember one time going to the hairdressers, I was on the phone to China, she's like, who on the phone? So I'm like, oh, just some guy in China. She's like, what do you mean? And that's sort of stuff that I would do. And just kept making money on money on money, and every time an opportunity came about, and saw it off my own back, I would just take it, seize it, and go with it. And that's really the vein of what I'm going to talk about as well, going forward. So fast forward to kind of, I guess, where you guys are. I was deputy head boy in my school, age 17, whatever it is, sixth form, whatever it is. And I'm like deciding, some of you are, some of you are a bit younger, you will have a decision at some point, do I go to university or not? Now at my stage, the tuition fees were £3,000 a year. I was the last year, in fact, for that to be the case. But now obviously 9,000, the decision is slightly different. At £3,000 a year, it's kind of like, it's not even worth thinking about. That was the mentality of everyone in my era, almost everyone. The year afterwards, people at 9,000 start to think to themselves, oh wait, hold on a minute, if I add that and this is quite a lot of money, and even still, most people still went to university. I also was in that same camp. My parents, maybe a bit like your parents, said to me, we don't want to go into business, it's too risky, we want to be a professional, we want to be a lawyer, a dentist, doctor, a very Jewish profession, right? So I thought, well, I love business, maybe I'll combine the two and I'll become a commercial barrister. That makes sense. And I'm not kidding, I was first day at university at Birmingham. I did it's a very important definition. I did a law degree and a business degree. It wasn't a washed down degree. I just made that very clear. So it's both degrees at the same time, which is very challenging. And I was there one day, I'm not kidding, and I just felt that I'm in the wrong place. I told my parents, I wasn't feeling it at all. They were like, oh, I'll just leave it for like 2-3 weeks, whatever, and it was like maybe 8 weeks I lasted or something. And I decided to drop out. And my whole decision as to why, as to why I decided to, my whole decision as to why I decided to drop out of university for me was because I thought to myself, and this is not saying you should or should not, I'm just giving you my story. Don't copy me, do what you want to do. I thought to myself, I'm enjoying like 10% of my time at university. I was doing a flyering business where, you know, clubs would want flyers, I'd get them printed and make a small profit. I was loving that, making the money, negotiating, that's what I loved doing. And then 90% of the time, the studying, the lectures that I went to occasionally, and all the rest of it, those were the things that I really despised. And I'm like, hold on a minute, I need to flip this round so that 90% of my time I'm really loving it, and 10% I'm doing stuff, maybe administration that I don't quite enjoy. Left university, everyone was like, you're an idiot, all my friends are in banking now, they went to Nottingham, they've got, you know, all red brick and all the rest of it. So I'm very much an oddball across my entire peer group. And I dropped out of university, and it was about, I think it was October, November, makes about sense. And I said to you before, the family had a jewellery business. And because of the jewellery business, they actually, obviously Christmas, well not obviously, but it's obviously very busy, it represents about 30% of a jeweller's turnover. So it's incredibly important to get Christmas right. And I mean Christmas, I mean the 4 weeks to December. And even still, the week of Christmas can be as much as 10-15% of annual turnover. So if you get it wrong, you buy the wrong stock, all the rest of it, you're highly leveraged, you're waiting for literally a few days to make your money for the whole year sometimes. The rest of the year, you're basically sustaining yourselves. And I had loads of stock, and I just took an opportunity. I said, look, there's a store here, let's take a lease on the store for literally 1 month. We negotiated it. Let's take this £50,000 worth of stock and let's just shred it into 20 grand of cash so we can actually do something. Because something you'll learn in business is values of things, like anything in life, is only what someone's prepared to pay for it. So if on your balance sheet, I don't get too complicated here, but if you're saying something's worth 50,000, say this jacket's worth £500 right in a shop, it is only worth £500, it's not worth £500. But maybe. I didn't pay that, but that doesn't matter. Anyway, it's only worth what someone's prepared to pay. So if you're giving me £1,000, this jacket now is a value of £1,000. If you only give me £10 and that's the highest bid, it's a £10 jacket. And that's the same thing in business, isn't it? It's a really big lesson. I'm not here to preach that, but it is interesting to understand that cash is king and value is in the eye of the beholder. And it's the way it works. You can think things are the price. You need a pair of trainers, right? Why is a pair of, what are they called? I'm so out of touch with these things. The Adidas trainers are the Yeezys, right? Why are they £1,000 when actually they should be £200-300? In actual fact, they should be probably £2, but that's a different story. It's because it's supply and demand, right? Because people are prepared to pay £1,000 to tell people I'm wearing a £1,000 pair of trainers. It's the same thing in the watch industry, across the board, right? But let's ignore that for a second, a slight tangent. So I've done this deal with my dad, not really my dad, I'm working for him at this point, and I'm still really undecided as to what I'm doing, what direction I'm going, and I have no idea what I'm doing. I know I love retail, I know I like making money, and that's about it. What I was really careful of, I didn't want to do, and it might sound like I did do this to some extent, I don't want to just go into the family business and just be that kid that's like, you know, oh, here's a business, and we're going 70 years, he's just rocked up, he's earning a 6-figure salary and happy days. Because that wasn't my family business, it isn't my family business today, it's a massive issue, I'll come to that in a second. I said to myself, I want to help this business at some point, possibly. I do enjoy retail, but crucially, and it's crucial for you guys to understand, I need to learn more, right? And how do I learn? So I'm not at university, where can I go? And I looked at who are the biggest retailers in the country? Tesco is the biggest retailer in the country, second in the world by turnover to Walmart. Turnover is about £1 billion a week, and in context, that's a lot of money, right? That's all you need to know. So, you know, I thought, oh, Tesco would be great. I applied to different schemes. This was there for some reason, I don't know why, they had a scheme where you didn't need to be a graduate, just have A-levels. And just so you're aware, I do have 9 A stars, 8 A stars and an A rather at GCSE, and 3 A's, didn't do A stars at that point, which I'm happy about because I wouldn't have got them at A level. So, you know, I'm credible in terms of academic, right? Probably would have got a first, if not 2-1, at Birmingham, an interview at Cambridge. So, just so you know, I'm not just like some rogue guy that's got no idea of education. I'm pretty educated as it is, and could be more so if I wanted to be. So, not trying to blow my own trumpet, just to give you a bit of an idea, right? It's important, because I don't want you to think it's like I'm some guy that's like, you know, your typical like Lord Sugar, for example. You know, oh, I dropped out of school at 13, I don't understand how to speak English properly, that's a different story. You know, I'm not that sort of person. I'm not that sort of person. I'd say to my face. You know what I mean? And he would say himself, that's not his forte, right? He can't come up and give you a speech. In fact, a lot of networking events that I've been to, he won't attend them. That's not his forte. And it's crucial, actually, another point. I'm going on a tangent, it doesn't make a difference. It's really crucial later on in your life, and the sooner the better, to understand what you're really good at and what you're really bad at. You know what I mean? So like, I know something I'm really bad at, being modest, one of them probably, and humble. But you know, I'm good at talking. I'm hoping I'm good at talking, we'll find out afterwards, and I'm good at different things. So you focus on those, and in your business or in your day job or whatever you do, you find other people that can maybe complement your skill set. And that's how businesses succeed really well. And that's what I'd encourage you to do is, you know, what subjects, if you've got subject choices or university choices, it's, yes, of course, listen to your parents, your teachers, I've got no issue with that whatsoever, take the advice on board, but you need to really think hard to yourself, not did I get the A here, did I get the B here, what am I passionate about, one, and two, what can I really focus on, because once you're passionate about something, you'll put 20-hour days in, right? I put into my business currently 20-hour days, 7 days a week. If you don't believe me, ask my wife, she never sees me. That's what it is, right? I travel and all the rest of it. You wouldn't put that work into something if you weren't passionate. Money doesn't motivate. You think it does, it's just something that's in the distance, it's interesting, it's nice to have, nice clothes, nice to have, but the real thing is passion and finding something. So I'd encourage you to try and find and do as many things as you can, whether it be, you know, recording someone speaking, going to see people speak, going to the theatre, whatever, I don't know, whatever it is that like kind of really is your passion. There'll always be an angle. People will tell you, oh, like, yeah, there's no money to be made in this or this. And every industry, you'll find someone that's done sensationally well. And why can't that be you? That's always my theory. But that's just me. So going back to the, kind of the story where we are, I'm not trying to bore you too much because I want to ask questions. It's better that way. I've applied to Tesco. It's a 9-month process. I end up getting onto this management scheme. I'm there, I'm thinking this is the bee's knees, I can see my career, I'm going to be the CEO of Tesco. By the way, this is how I think, it's just I'm a nutter, but this is how I think. I'm like, I can see 10, 15 years, I'm going to be the next CEO. Terry Leahy came from near enough the shop floor. Philip Clark, who didn't do a great job, the previous guy, but whatever, he came from the shop floor. So in Tesco, it's a very much culture of that is possible. And they say that, and it's not like a nonsense thing, it is possible. So I'm looking, thinking, this is brilliant. I'm on the shop floor learning the ropes, I could be CEO one day, this is fantastic. And then basically 6-8 months in, it wears off this kind of like the magic, so to speak, and I'm like, this is just really me on the shop floor, and I'm not really enjoying myself, and what am I doing here, you know, sort of thing. And I happened to, by absolute chance, be giving a talk at school, on my old school, a career talk. And on the iPad there was, that I presented, and I showed them, there was the management scheme that I was on, and there was also a commercial scheme. And the commercial scheme was in the head office as a buyer, negotiating, all this. And I was like, that's what I want to do. But it wasn't available, unfortunately, when I originally applied. So me being me, I called up my my tutor, effectively, the same as in Tesco, and I said, I'd like to move to this scheme, please. She says, you can't. I said, well, I quit. She says, well, okay, if you quit, you know, the only way you can do it rather is to quit. So, okay, I'll quit then. So I had to quit my job. It wasn't any great money, but it was a very stable and very clear trajectory. And I took the risk. I worked in Tesco for 4 weeks whilst I was waiting for the decision as to whether I'd make the new scheme. Had to reapply to an assessment centre, which was, I told the person at the time, the exact same assessment centre that I'd already passed. But regardless, The same essay question, the same thing. I was really irritated, but whatever, I passed it twice, so I'm pretty qualified to pass that one, I think. And I get into the commercial space and become a buyer. Long story short, and I will answer it again, it isn't relevant, not because I don't want to talk about it, it's just a really uninteresting story. I wish it was more interesting, it's not. I ended up getting fired a year later from Tesco, okay? I'm really low at this point. I'm like, oh, this is just like one thing after another. Did I make a wrong decision? Not going to university? What am I going to do with myself? I don't want to just go into family business and be the guy that's just like not made it and all the rest of it. I took a little job. It wasn't really exciting. I thought it was great. It wasn't at the time. I did go into the family business. I looked at the e-commerce function. They were doing 25 grand. Took it to $250,000. And after about 6-8 months, I looked at the business and I said to myself, how if we're doing more revenue, is there no more profit in the business? Why is there no cash? Why can't we pay suppliers on time? And this is, again, crucial in business, is cash flow. People don't realise it. It's not how much turnover you're doing, it's not how much profit you're doing. The reason businesses go bankrupt, the only reason is cash flow. You just can't pay suppliers on time. Look at Northern Rock, a prime example, right? The reason they went bankrupt is because every person was scaremongered into taking cash out of that system. If everyone went to any bank now and you tried to take money out, every bank would go bust in this world because they don't have the cash available. And that's what it's all about. Business is the same. It's effectively suppliers knocking on the door, I'd like my cash please, and all of a sudden you can't fob them off for so long and everyone asks and you go bankrupt. That's what happens. The family business was within touching distance of this, right? Touching distance. And I came in and I don't know how I did it, to be honest with you, to this day. I managed to turn the business around, like near enough single-handedly. And I'm not saying I did or didn't, you can actually look it up, it's known fact, right? I just took very simple decisions, and that's all I do. I'm not like some genius, I'm not like some whatever, I don't profess to be. I'm just very logical. And I'd go, this store's not making money, how can we get out of the lease? Oh, we can't. But know what, let's sit down with the landlord, let's find a new tenant, let's whatever we can do. And it's these sort of really, really logical things that I do. We turn the business around, and this is where it comes to the Apprentice and stuff you're probably interested in, right? Because that's all boring stuff, but it has to tell you, because otherwise it makes no sense why I'm stood here. So I've done all this, I've then started a consultancy company. I'm thinking, this is genuinely what I thought, and I'm not on this now, I promise you. I think, oh, I'm genius, I can turn out any company, I'll just go into other companies, I'll do this again, and this. And I helped a few startup companies, and it turned out that basically they were too small to pay me, and it didn't work out, and I was in limbo. What was I doing? I had to do a bit of watch trading on the side, and luxury watches and stuff. I was doing different things, wasn't sure. Again, at this whole limbo point, I'm like, this is the third time now this happened. I don't know what I'm doing myself. Like, all my friends, they appear to be doing great. That's another thing that you'll learn in life, and it's a lesson that you'll learn yourself, but people will present themselves to be doing fantastically better and happy and brilliant, and they're probably not. And it's not to do with what they're earning, it's not to do with where they are, but they don't want you. It's a very English thing, right? People hate sharing a bit of weakness, a bit of kind of, I'm not doing great, I need help. They hate it. So if you're in a bank and you're earning decent money, or whatever you're doing, or you've studied to be a vet or a doctor, I know people that have done this, they won't tell their parents or a lot of the people around them they hate being a doctor, because they've taken 7 years to do it, and they'll spend the rest of their life hating what they do, until one day they'll quit, they'll have enough money, and they'll go do something else, and they spend 5-10 years in business, and they think, why didn't I do this before? It happens. So don't kind of keep faith, do what you think's right, don't take risks for no reason. I'm not trying to propel, that's not right at all, but do what you feel's right. So you get to this stage now, and the Apprentice, right? I'm in the office one morning, I literally look on Facebook, there was a computer process at the time, just going, and I just was wasting time looking at Facebook, as you do. And it was like, it said, last day to apply, click here, and I didn't even know if it was real, I just clicked on it, and it was 5 questions, it was really simple, it was something like this, what makes you stand out, not even what's your business plan, I think, why would you work well with blood sugar, what makes you different, it's really just, that's probably the same question, but it's 5 very, very simple questions that really any job interview you'd probably answer in some way, shape or form, maybe not as directly. And I thought this will take 10 minutes, so I just applied, and that was that. And because it was the last day of applications, I've noticed now everyone's watching me. Beforehand, people were like, oh, I'm bored, this is boring. Now they're interested. Okay, interesting. Okay, so because that was the last day of applications, it was only a week before I heard back. Whereas actually the applications opened, I didn't even know this myself, because I don't watch it all that much myself, November. So you'd have quite a long time to wait. I was fortunate that, say, I happened to apply last day, literally last day. the week later get an email saying, we'd like to invite you to London to an assessment centre, do the assessment centre, all went well. But you have to remember at this point, I didn't have a business, right? I did not have a business to present that was worthy of a £250,000 investment. So I kind of applied just because I'm sure you guys look at it as well and think, that Charles is an idiot. Why did that in Bruges? Why did he buy this rubber, like whatever he did? And you're like, this is so easy. Just Google it, just use this, use Waze, whatever you want to do. And I thought the same as you. I thought the exact same as you. And that's why I applied. I'd watched the programme maybe I haven't watched the last 5 years, I'll be honest, but before that religiously when I was at school I used to watch it and love it and chat like you guys do, I'm sure, about who's great, who's awful, who's good looking, who's what, all that sort of stuff. And so that's why I applied. It wasn't a business reason behind it. And then I get through, and the next stage you've genuinely got to present at one point in time in that day your business plan to one of Lord Sugar's advisors. And it's not a joke, this is actually one of his advisors. So I'm like, oh, I need a business plan, I don't know what this is. And what had happened, because out of necessity, and this is, necessity is the mother of all invention, you've heard that phrase, and it's so true. The family business was cash strapped, as I explained to you earlier. So what I did was, I knew of investors, and I said to them, I don't want to give you equity away because it's a family business, but what I will do is I will take your money, go into the marketplace that I know well. I didn't know it all that well, but again, Richard Branson will tell you, or Sir Richard Branson will tell you, that it's all about fake it till you make it, right? You've got to kind of present that you know what you're doing, and then you know what you're doing, right? I had no idea what I was doing. I said, give me £100,000, I'll go into the marketplace, and I'll buy some Rolex watches, and we'll put them in the shop, you'll get a return, and you'll be happy. Fine, okay, it's fine. Don't know how I did it. And within 8 weeks maybe it was, there was an 8% return for the investor. I think the store, my family store, made 3 or 4%, but remember there's no capital employed here, so there's no risk. And I took a 1% cut, which is very nice. And that was that. And I thought, hold on a minute, this is a business, right? If I just do this with more stores and more money and all the rest of it, and that was near enough the business plan. It's moved on a bit since and developed, but that's near enough it. And I thought, oh, I'll just do this. And all of a sudden it's like, I ran the numbers, and this is a big, big business. And Lord Sugar, you might not realise, he may or may not, he's a big fan of watches, he's also Jewish. So I thought, I've got a good chance here. And I did. So one stage after another, I get onto the programme. Now, it's filmed in, a few little spoilers, but you can find it online, which is a difference. It's filmed in the 1st of May, it starts. In fact, I remember because I stayed over in London, and it was the Anthony Joshua fight on a Saturday night, which I watched randomly in some pub, which is very unlike me, but I enjoyed it. And then the next morning, you get taken mysteriously to a studio, which turns out to be the boardroom. And I've got to tell you, the first time that you meet Lord Sugar, Karen, who I believe talked here, so maybe you're comparing me and her and stuff, I don't know, and Claude, it is like being a man with two swords. That's the simplest way to describe it. Maybe you guys feel like that with me today. It's a bit weird seeing on TV, but I'm actually a normal person, I don't know. But with them, it's very much, they are, big, big figures. I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not. And you walk into this room, and by the way, I've never seen any of the candidates before, apart from 1 or 2 that I'd seen. I think Sargent and possibly Sarah Lynn was in one of my previous rounds. But other than that, everyone's new to me. You don't know anything, you don't know anything about it. You walk, literally, when you see that, and it's fake obviously, but when you see me put down my business plan on that first day, that is the first time that I see who's in the process. And when I walk through that door, that is the first time, in fact it was the second, it was 2 takes, but normally it should be, someone messed it up, it should be the first time that you see Lord Sugar, Karen and Paul. There's no prior relationship, there's no conversations, this is how it's going to go, and it's not like that at all. And I just remember thinking to myself, I'm like, that's not them, that's a cardboard cutout, it can't be. They're like in high definition, they're all made up to the nines with like every makeup artist under the sun. And there's like, 10 cameras here, it's just really strange. And they look at the table's like grimy and horrible, and like, this isn't the Apprentice, like, this isn't it, this isn't right, it should be in this building, Canary Wharf, and what everyone else thinks. Well, it isn't obviously, but that's that. And the process is just, it runs something like this. You have 2 days of task and 1 day of a boardroom. So you have, every week you run basically 2 tasks. And 1 day is normally a day off, but it doesn't quite work like that. For example, rather, if you win a task, I didn't win very many, as you know, so I'll just tell you from what I know from other people. You get up at like 5 AM, 6 AM to go over to Cambridge to go hunting, for example. That's on a day off. but you're actually working in inverted commas. So sometimes winning, and it sounds really stupid, but sometimes winning tasks can be a pain because you end up then working near enough 2 weeks on the bounce. And I say working because you don't probably appreciate the days are incredibly long. You're talking 5 AM and that's the time you wake up, and yes, it does take 20 minutes to get ready, and even the girls, I don't know how they do it, they do it. They get ready in 20 minutes, they do their hair, they tell me beforehand and have the outfits ready. I still don't understand it, but they tell me that's how it works. And basically from 5 AM up until 10 PM, you have a camera following you. Sometimes it's not scripted, but occasionally you have to what's called a pickup, where they've not heard what you've said, you've got to repeat yourself. You're constantly on basically, and then you're off. This is the weird thing you don't realise, right? So you're not just, it's not just film. You have to wait for things. Sometimes you've got to wait for a designer to come and help you, or whatever you've got to do. And sometimes it's like this. Someone presses a play button and it's like, okay, Charles, Anissa, Andrew, whatever it was, go do this. And then it's like, okay, we need to just like find a better location for this, or whatever it might be. We've got to wait, and you're just waiting around for. So it's a very strange kind of up and down energy levels all day, every day. And I'm not kidding. Most people lose weight. I think I put on a stone over 4 weeks because you end up. I don't eat chocolate. I know it looks like I do. I promise you, I should be in such great shape for what I eat. But I don't know why I'm not. There must be something. I was eating chocolate bars and anything energy-wise in between takes to try and get the energy levels up. It's so difficult when you've been working so many days, and that's half the reason mistakes are made, because you're pressured into such major, you think are minor, but end up being major decisions like what to call the robot. Who would have thought that they programmed a name as the robot? Do you really think when we spoke to them, I specifically, not me or someone, asked them, we said, oh, so this is the name. They never mentioned that it's programmed into the robot and it can't be changed, because we wouldn't have changed the name then, would we? But you're having phone calls that are like 60, 80, 90 seconds, and that's all you're allowed, right? There's a certain period of time, and that's what happens. You don't have this constant dialogue, and so you've almost got two teams running side by side. And I was saying to your teacher, whose name I'm awful with names, so I apologise. I was saying to him prior to this that one of the things we don't realise is his question to me was, when I watched the programme, what did I think? And then there's another question from someone who mentioned about editing and how that works. And the answer is this simple. You're watching a programme that is, one, for entertainment purposes. Okay, number one reason. It's one of BBC's biggest programmes after Strictly Come Dancing. It's number 2. It pulls in 8.5 million viewers. If that programme was, say, more Dragon's Den related, which still is a little bit theatre, but nowhere near as much, it wouldn't pull in 8.5 million, it might pull in 850,000. And so for that reason, of course, the calamity, the comedy, the getting lost in Bruges, all this stuff, I wouldn't say it's scripted, because it isn't, but I'm going to put it like this and leave it to imagination. Obstacles are put in your way that make certain outcomes possible. Let's put it that way, right? And I'll address them in turn if you want to at some point, no problem. But the other thing to note is the actual filming of an hour episode, so half an hour of that is boardroom, so that's written off. Half an hour is task. Of that half an hour of task, there's over 140 hours of filming for one half an hour. So you think about that, and they can make anyone look great, look bad, look good or indifferent. And I'll tell you one little trade secret which will really put things into perspective. What happens in the middle of June when the final boardroom happens is this. We go in, have the conversation, it's more jovial than usual for once. And Sarah and James are left. And what happens is they film 2 endings at that point in time. So they film James winning and they film Sarah winning. They do not film an ending where 2 people win, because it's never happened before, right? And it won't happen again, I'm sure, but it hasn't happened before. So there's then a big problem, because you've got from June through to December when you guys find out, and also I must admit, that's when I found out the Tuesday before the Sunday you did, because I went to your Hyde, filming, and that's when I found out, and I was as shocked as you guys probably were. And James and Sarah found out probably a day before. In fact, definitely, because I speak to James every day, the day before, and then on the Friday before, they have to re-pitch their businesses. And if you think there's been 6 months grace period, Lord Sugar and his advisors, and this is obviously not on camera, are expecting some progress. So Lord Sugar gets a little bit of a 6-month window. We don't realise that. It's not just the process. The process irons out people he thinks aren't his partners for whatever reason, but it's this 6-month window that you really think about it. That's probably where he really goes yay or nay to whoever wins. So the point I'm trying to say about editing is that final, if you think about this, was never filmed. So it was never filmed, that outcome, and there was never a refilming of the outcome. So how on earth do they make it look like 2 people win? And the answer is this simple. It's just pure editing, right? The only line of script that was given on that day that isn't actually on that day and was recorded post was Lord Sugar saying, I'm going to double down on my investment. Everything else, looks Karen gave, Claude gave, they've been edited from maybe another day or another part of the day or something else, right? And it's just very, very watertight, well put together to make them both like they've won that day. They hadn't. So if you think if that's possible, then maybe I didn't get lost and bruised. Maybe I didn't go to that turkey shop. I did, but not where you think about it, right? So this is what I'm trying to say. And I'll quickly summarise and I want to answer questions because I think I'm droning on. So what have I done now? And this goes back to that proactivity piece I'm trying to say to you guys. Whatever you end up doing, if it is being, going down the traditional routes, it's fine, but be proactive about it, right? If you want to be a lawyer, doctor, dentist, or whatever profession, banking, whatever, I know your teacher will tell you this, but I never did this, and I regret not doing this, right? 2 things. Extracurricular activities, like, do them, but do the ones you enjoy, not the ones you're forced to do, 1. 2, when you actually have breaks in school, go and get experience. Because you're 13, 12, 17, 18, doesn't matter, it doesn't mean you can't go and do a week at a solicitor's. Even if you're doing the photocopying, whatever you're doing in the industry, just getting a feel for what's the water cooler chat, as it's called in the States, or what's the atmosphere. Because you might go, oh, I thought solicitors were like what Suits is like, right? And that's sort of Rachel Zane, and that's what happens. And you might get in there and you're like, actually, this is really dull. Or you might think this is brilliant, it's exactly the space. And it's those experiences that I think I didn't do enough of. And it's, Will Smith, and you can look at this, it's a really good video. I saw the other day, his Snapchat, he says this, and it's a very American thing, and I think England would take a lot from it. And English people are very afraid of failure and taking chances, right? And Will Smith is he's saying fail often and quickly. Because if you go to the gym, and I don't, as you can clearly see, I love to, I have a membership, don't get it. Never thought of being that guy. I once ran the London Marathon many moons ago. I don't know how now I come to this space, but I do. He says this, when you go to the gym, what you're doing is you're trying to get in better shape and you've got a certain outcome. To reach that outcome, if you actually look into it, what you're doing is you're pushing muscles to failure. You're pushing them to the brink where, you're playing a sport, whatever you're doing, you're always pushing yourself to failure. And when you fail enough times, your muscles start to grow. And that's where you grow in the failure. It's very corny, right? But that's what happens in life. I hate to tell you, but it is, right? As horrible it is, and I've said to you before, everyone tells you they do great and they never fail. Those people don't go very far. It's the ones how do you become a headmaster of a school or whatever industry you're in to get to the peak? You will have failed somewhere. Nobody has this linear A to B purely successful. I'm telling you, I've seen enough cases, I thought they do. You read enough autobiographies and you'll see Lord Sugar, Sir Richard Branson, Elon Musk, whatever it is, they've all failed an awful lot, lost an awful lot of money, or whatever industry they're in, they've been awful at it. But the difference between them and the next guy, and you've heard it before, I'm sure, is they had the tenacity, determination to continue. And that's really, really crucial. And that's why when I left The Apprentice, and I'm not joking, from June up until about November, December, just gone, I did nothing. I did the total opposite. I couldn't have stood here and given this speech because I was in a mindset where I wasn't sure what I was doing, where I was going, all the rest of it. And I was being reactive, a total polar opposite. I swear to you, I can't even think about that person I was. I was getting up, I was going to work, but I was on autopilot, right? Sometimes in school you find that it's near the end of the term or whatever else. At the beginning of the term you're all buzzing, I'm going to get back into this. End of the term you start to kind of, whatever, wane off. That's what I was, kind of end of term time sort of thing. And I got to November after Your Hired show, which is filmed the week of. So similarly to the Your Hired show, mine was filmed on the Monday, following the Wednesday, I think it is, you see it. And my wife's gone home and I'm over the Tuesday and Wednesday to do press stuff. And on the Tuesday I'm by myself and it just dawned on me. I'm looking back and I'm thinking, I have done nothing for 6 months. Like literally nothing with this. And obviously I hadn't really been noticed because I hadn't been on TV all that much, but now it's 8 weeks in. Now I'm not on TV anymore, I didn't realise it's until week 12, it's the final. But that's kind of irrelevant. I've not done anything, what am I doing in my life? Where am I going? I had all this set. And this is the 4th time, right? I'm starting to think, am I a lunatic? What's going on here? It's the 4th time. Every time I think, oh, I found a thing, I'm going to go. So I've failed more than 4 times, but that's 4 examples of where, you know, I've got to that position. The difference between me and a lot of other people, and I'm not saying there's a lot of people that I know that do this, is that I've found a way out of it. Whether it's saying 6 months, 6 years, you find a way out of it. And my way out of it was low-hanging. I'm thinking, what do I love doing? And this is exactly what I'm saying on this talk here. This is the message to leave with. What do I love doing? Well, I love watches. I just have a passion for them. My family, it's nothing to do with it, actually. To be honest, I bought my own myself. I bought my first Rolex after selling sweets. That's how much money I made, right? And you know, it was 3-4 grand, which in my world now is not a lot, but in your world is a lot, and in your world is a lot, and in lots of people's world is a lot, right, for a watch. But for my world, it isn't. And at that point, it was a lot of money, a lot of money for me. But I thought, I love this thing. I don't know why I want it. It wasn't a Rolex that you even know or see or anything, or you didn't even know it was. I just love it, whatever. And after that moment, and I thought back to that, I had so much passion, I said before, enthusiasm for this. I can put 20-hour days and 7 days a week in this. And all of a sudden I started going, what am I great at? I really love networking. I don't know about watches, I don't know the ins and outs of the metals and the materials. I can give you a brief history, right? I don't know how everything, I don't know how the movements, and some people know much more than I do. But the thing that I excel at is networking. Before I came here, just now, a guy, I met him on WhatsApp, didn't know from Adam, right? I bought and sold a watch, I made £200 profit just on the journey here, right? I couldn't do that if I knew lots about watches. I can do that because I know how to network. And that's my skill, that's my kind of what I now focus on, whether it's buying some property, whatever. I mainly focus on watches because that's just the current thing. But I've identified that's what I'm very good at. And there's things I'm bad at, like administration. At some point when I can, I'll bring someone in to help me do that. That's very good at that side of things. I think that's really when I leave it. Kind of, you know, figure out what you're passionate about, figure out where your strengths lie, and really chase them. And now you can ask me any question you want about Bruges, about anything. Serious, not serious, and I'll answer it the best I can. Where do you want to start? Yeah. What do you think of my content? Good, bad, boring? Yeah. Alright, you'll tell me afterwards, I'll hear it like it was awful. It's the worst talk ever. Karen Brady was great, Evan Davis was great, you were awful.
Okay, so what valuable skills do you think you learned from appearing on The Apprentice?
Okay. So, I'll tell you something that I did learn massively on The Apprentice. So I learned a lot from the other candidates, and it's something you don't think about. These people, forget me, take me out of the equation, are very, very good at what they do. Michaela Wayne, for example, I can categorically tell you, run a £3 million turnover, or multiple businesses of £1 million turnover. Drives been WIA. It's not all about trappings, right? But it's nice, right? And she does very, very well. James, right? He's just called me today. Probably shouldn't share it. Who cares? It's what it is. His business in his first month made £20,000 after paying his 12 staff and all the rest of it, right? So that's before literally even got involved with it. So these are people, I mean, he was earning, and as well, I should mention this, when someone claims something like Elliot claims I earn X amount, or do this, or this is what I do, it's not all about money here. I want to make sure that's clear. I probably have talked about it a lot, but really, how I view money, this is interesting, just to go on a slight tangent, is if you are a politician, right, your level of success is determined by maybe which office you reach, or how many votes you can muster for a certain cause that you have, and that kind of thing. In my opinion, if I'm in business, the votes are people's wallets, right? If people are prepared to pay me to stand here and they haven't, £5,000, right? I think that's quite good. They haven't, I assure you, right? If people are prepared to pay someone else £50,000 to do the same talk, but he's better content, whatever, I would, in my head, think, well, he's 10 times more valuable for his time than I am. And that's all it is, money. It's trading time for money. And how you make your time more valuable is exactly what I just said. You find what you're passionate about and you become the expert. You don't call yourself it, but slowly, you learn and learn and learn until you become the best in your field at networking, at whatever specific marketing or maths or whatever it might be. Going back to the question though, which was, remind me, sorry.
What was
the best learning? The best learning was from other people. So like people like James, for example. Like James has the most incredible attitude to be able to get on the wavelength of anyone, befriend anyone around, and then turn that, close a sale with this attitude that is, I'll come back and do business with you, you know, because a lot of people can be very friendly, and as soon as the money comes into it and the negotiation comes in, they become horrible people, and no one wants to work with them ever again. But James has this charismatic approach, right? Michaela has her own way of doing things. They've all got these things. I learn what I'm not great at. For example, sometimes I don't push hard enough. There was an instance in the cafe when we were buying the rug lag, which is another instance entirely. Sergeant was there, Michaela was there. I thought I did a good deal, I negotiated the price down, negotiated a cake in the deal as well. And Sergeant goes, it was £55 from memory, I can't remember exactly. And Sergeant goes, we did 50. But I'd already closed at 55. And I'm like, that's really rude, don't say that. Anyway, Michaela goes, yes, do it 45. And the guy's like, no, I can't do that. It's like, I'll tell you what, I'll do 50. That extra bit of push that I would never have done, the way they did it, I would never be able to do. Now I know I started to do it myself a little bit. It's those sorts of things, those sort of moments where you think, do you know what, actually, yeah, like that's the sort of stuff that I'm not good enough at, I need to get better at. And so it's from the other people, it's also Karen and Claude when they give you the input, or Luttrell gives you the input. Sometimes, you know, you listen and go to one and out the other, but a lot of the time, the guy's worth 1.7+ billion pounds, Karen's worth whatever she's worth, Claude's are very successful, all incredibly successful, however you define it, right? You take their advice. So it's those and from the candidates, specifically.
Okay. What is your biggest regret / business mistake?
Coming here? No. Biggest difficult one. Do you know? I think it's these like periods of time. It's really hard. I need to. That's my character flaws, I suppose. That I'm very optimistic, very kind of confident, as you see me now. But I can at some point become like, you know. So I did a deal the other day. I worked for 4 weeks in a deal. The person pulls out, and I get very frustrated because I don't understand. Am I doing something wrong? I start to really doubt myself. So. You know, my biggest flaw, it's not a regret, it's more a flaw, is kind of that self-doubt. And everyone has it. I've heard of people say, oh, I don't have self-doubt. It's utter nonsense. Every single person doubts, you know, I made £200 today, I'm going to make the same tomorrow, I'm going to go bankrupt tomorrow. Like, you don't know, right? There's always doubt. I don't care who you are and what you're worth or what you do or what industry you're in. You know, you're a teacher, you're whatever job you do, you're a doctor, you've done 1,000 successful surgeries. There's always going to be an element of doubt. Is that 1,001st one the one where there's going to be an accident, there's going to be a problem? So that's not the answer to the question. But in terms of the physical, the biggest failure, I think probably being fired from Tesco, if I'm honest with you. However, it's what's important, and how that came about was basically in corporate worlds you have entertainment, right? With every industry you do, in corporate particularly as a buyer. I was a music buyer, literally buying CDs. It was worth to Tesco 50 to 60 million pounds. I bought 20, 30 million pounds of that. I'm telling you for a fact, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. I walked to one day and they said, oh, you're looking after Ministry of Sound, Universal Music, Sony Music. I'm like, oh, brilliant. You just have to have that attitude. As I said, you've got to fake it till you make it. I had no idea what I was doing whatsoever. And one time Ministry of Sound said to me, oh, come over to the club, we'll comp your entry, don't worry about it. It was £10, I thought nothing of it, right? If it was a table and all the rest of it and silly money, okay, I think that's out of order, you know what I mean? That's bribery. I didn't think anything of it. I went back one more time, and it was a different guy who was there, and I showed him an email, which just was basically as simple as, hi, from me to the guy, just proving who I was. And effectively, for me sharing that email, it was deemed as sharing corporate information. It isn't, it wasn't, but that's the way the cookie crumbles, as they say. And I was made to be an example of, they put this whole new procedure into a whole of Tesco, I'm quite proud of, which was basically, if you accept entertainment, here's what you've got to do. On the other note, I must say, people like Philip Clark, the ex-CEO, some of the big hitters there, they used to go to the World Cup by Coca-Cola would take them. It goes on all the time, right? To massive levels. I was just caught in the wrong time, the wrong space at the wrong time. So that was the biggest failure, I'd say, doing that. But, and this is the important thing, it's about how you turn that round. So I was in a terrible space, depressed, I was horrible. I was a horrible person to be around for about 2-3 months. But what's really important is whatever failure you have, it doesn't matter what it is, how big and how small, there's always a coming back. There's always something to learn from it. And it's like, it is those moments where you start to like doubt yourself and the rest of it. And when you come back to where you are now, after the 6 months I've just had where I kind of doubted what I'm doing, the rest of it, it's learning lessons from it, and then the next time it happens, you're a bit stronger, and the next time.
Okay, last one from me.
Yeah.
What was it like to be involved in a triple firing, and do you think you deserve to be fired at that time?
Okay, good question. Triple firing was interesting, so you have to remember, I was in the firing line week 1 as sub-team leader, because what basically happens, and this is something you don't realise in the Apprentice watching necessarily, it's a game, right? It's like Big Brother in some respects. Everyone's thinking about themselves, right? How can I, and at the end of the day, there's £250,000 on the line. And I made this point really clearly in that the person that wins becomes a multimillionaire overnight, near enough. It's a lottery ticket. I think, I can't remember who it was, Ricky Martin or it was Mark Wright from the previous one, had said, it's the equivalent of a lottery ticket in business. The lottery being a business partner, putting the money in. And that money does go in, the $250,000 is sat in James's business account and all the rest of it. So it's all real, it's not a fictitious thing. Because of that, you get backstabbing, you get what people like Elliot did, and I know Elliot well, it's no issue whatsoever, and he'll tell it himself. What Elliot did was exactly why this process becomes so entertaining. Because when something's going wrong, what you do in the normal world is you go, actually, here's what we should do better, guys, this is this. On the Apprentice land, you don't do that. You store it up, and then if and when you lose, you go in and you say, such and such did this, or didn't do this. You don't say what you did or didn't do. You go into defence mode. It's a very weird scenario. I'm not normally like that, I assure you. I know you might think I am. I'm not. I'm normally quite courteous and the rest of it. But in this instance, you just go into this mode where I want the $250,000. I don't know you from Adam. I've seen you for a few days, get a bit friendly with you. But at the end of the day, we're here for business. I want my £250,000 to kickstart my company. So in terms of so that's what happened. So I was sub-team leader at this point, and the first thing that happens is people go, was the project manager good or bad? Well, it's irrelevant really, but he's the one person, or she's the one person that, guess what, picks the other two people to go in with them. So what does everyone do, if they can? They go, project manager, it wasn't your fault. It was your fault. And you're the sub-team leader. You're the other person in command that can't do anything about it. You're literally a helpless thing. And you'll see, if you watch the programme, you'll see almost every time sub-team leader goes in. Because as a project manager, you don't see what the other team do. And guess what you do? You look to blame someone else, and they're the next person to blame. So after that, I was like, I'm going here, this is terrible, the rest of it. And that was fine. But I didn't go, I kept on. Going to your question, trouble firing, Anissa, personally, from working with her, should have gone week 6. Because in Bruges, it's a whole different story, but she massively made some errors that weren't shown on TV. She should have gone, and she'll tell you herself. But she wasn't, I was put in that firing line, right? Then comes Andrew, and Andrew, I don't know, he's just not a right fit for Blood Sugar, I'll leave it at that. He's on Big Brother now, as you know, and it's great, he'll do very well, that's Andrew. And he was always there for that, he'll tell you himself. He wasn't there for business reasons, he was there because that was his direction. So those two go, and I'm sat there thinking, well, first week I didn't do great, then I purposefully held back and didn't do too much, and I kind of thought, I'll just go in the shadows a bit. Problem is, when you get into that fire line again, you haven't got enough to say. You haven't got enough to go, I was responsible for this pitch. I should have been pitching, right? That's what I'm good at. Didn't do it. Or I was responsible for this. I didn't have enough things to talk about. So it was right for me to go, but I didn't expect it, I'll be honest. I thought 2 have gone, I'm sat there, and the conversation was about 10 minutes. He obviously a very short time, and he's asking about business and different things. And I thought, maybe he'll keep me in. He didn't, and it is what it is. So do I think it's fair? Probably so. I'm not complaining either way because I've got what I need to get out of the whole experience.
Okay. Should we open the questions up if anyone has any questions?
Hi.
So obviously the money's a big part of it, but you never really hear about what happens to Lord Sugar's businesses. So what value would you actually put on the investment that he makes, or is it purely?
No, it's massive. So if you look on, it's readily available. If you go on Company's House, so it's simple as this. You type in the business name, one of them's Hyper Recruitment, one of them's whatever they are, and then company, check after the name of Company House, you can see their company accounts. And it didn't come across so well in this series, but when the first time ever he brought some of the finalists back in, minus Joseph Valente, that's a totally different question, those people are making profits of 6 figures, £300,000–400,000 very well.
Just in terms of profit,
Go on, sorry.
In terms of the actual input that Lord Sugar puts in.
Okay, sorry,
so
understand the question. Understand the question. He is very. What do you think? Looking at Lord Sugar as a character, what do you reckon?
I mean, he probably offers contacts, maybe.
Okay, so I think of him as a character. So he doesn't play a character on TV. His direct approach, his getting his hands dirty, and all the rest of it. That's just him. He doesn't change when you work with him, and I know this personally from James and some of the other guys that I speak to that have won. He'll call you weekly, his team will call you weekly, but he personally, if he sees, for example, say James has stood here, he's doing a speech on Friday, getting more money than me, that's a different story. He's stood here, and someone's filming him. If Lord Sugar sees that on social media, and he's like, why were you there, why weren't you in the office, he'll call him, and I'll say, who do you think you are? Celebrity, what are you doing, this. So he gets very involved. And on the business level, very, very much so. It's not a silent partnership, it's not here's your $250,000, bye-bye. He takes it very seriously. He's a very big advocate for helping, not just younger people, people in general, to be better people, to do better in the business. I know it doesn't cross on the TV necessarily, but he really does care. And he puts a lot of time in and a lot of resources, not just money, not just contacts, but actually where the business should go, what direction. So Alana Spencer, who won, not this year gone, but the one before, her business was just baking products, right? He brought a whole new strategy to it, which was, why don't we do that, but on a bigger scale? Let's get people to represent you at every food fair. There is, you may have one here, you might see her stand, but it's not her it's her product, but someone else representing. Whereas she might have had that capacity or idea to bring on ambassadors. So it does make a big difference, for sure. Not just the $250,000. Yeah.
I always wonder when watching how much interaction is there between the crew, as it were, and the candidates.
Okay, so in terms of the people, good question though. So people filming, so you have in each car normally, the seats are in such a format that they are two are facing each other, so people are going backwards. You have a camera guy, and you have a sound guy in the front seat, and then in some occasions you also have a producer, director, who's kind of making sure you hit certain deadlines in the right places, because it's not as simple as, certain things are planned out, which design studio we're going to, all the rest of it, and we can't be late because these are real people's time, etc. So they get involved in that capacity. The camera crew don't get involved at all though, right? They are just literally, the camera crew and sound people will not say anything if you make them fall. These guys have done this for 15 years, well, 13 years I should say. They also, they're the best in their industry, beyond the best. They work on MasterChef, you know a program, Bake Off, these guys work on that. So like they are, they can earn 10,000 a day. They're like the best in their industry, but they don't get anywhere involved, they're just there to record what's going on. The producer occasionally, but they don't help you inspect. They won't say, oh, there's a shop here, go stop at that. You are left to your own devices, it's not scripted in any way. It's just sometimes if you're doing something that's not illegal, but you have to get permission to film in locations, right? So they have to get involved with that and that kind of thing, legalities and like health and safety and stuff. So if we're picking up poo, for example, I know it sounds ridiculous, but there's certain health and safety precautions, and because this is going live to 8.5 million, well not live, far from live, because it's being shown to 8.5 million people, worst case, it's happened before by the way, if someone doesn't wear a seatbelt and they're recorded not wearing a seatbelt, you get hundreds of phone calls to BBC saying this is disgusting, and some people like have that. So that kind of thing, very much so. But in terms of the running of the day and where we end up going, for example on the buying mission, it's literally our discretion. We could go to Timbuktu, should we decide. Yeah, I'll answer the question. Yeah, sorry. I'll answer this way and just go backwards.
What was your favourite task?
Yeah, good question. I've always just had a real love for the buying task, so the one that I just mentioned where you have blood sugars, 10 items, and you've got to work out what they are, and all that sort of stuff, and I've always thought, how do they not know what this thing is, or whatever, and then the one thing's a Jewish item, I'm Jewish, this is just awful, I just looked at it, I thought, oh my god. But that's a great task, because it tests, its logistics is massive, right? I couldn't realise that, but I'm not from London, I've lived for a year in London, but even still, SW4, SW5, in Manchester, they'll be pretty much next to each other. In London, I'm just picking that out for they're not necessarily next to each other. Or a mile in London can take you an hour to get there, and it's all these things, there's so many complexities, and that's the one task really where you have pretty much free reign. Some of the other ones, like Bruges, obviously you're getting on a certain boat, there's certain things you kind of can't do. On that task, you just have utter free reign. It's more like what I do in a day job where, you're negotiating, you're trying to find better deals and barter and that, so that's my favourite task. Yeah.
You often hear about candidates in the Apprentice getting overwhelmed from, from their experiences. Can you relate to that or?
Oh yeah, I'm not always just this confident guy who's going to stand in front of 50 people or whatever. I do have self-doubt. I'm not I'm not above that at all. And the first instance and the worst instance of this happened twice. Once during filming, after that final the first boardroom, where I was in that firing line, and did not have experienced that, I had no idea what to expect, and I genuinely thought I was going. And the worst thing about this is that you have to create a cover story, right, to my friends and family. There were 3 people that knew, well, a couple more, but supposed to in theory know, and signed a whole legal document, my parents and my wife. and yeah, I'm married and young, but you know. So my parents, my wife, and my brother, and then my grandparents sort of knew, but the four, sorry, should really have known. Everyone else, and I mean everyone else, thought that I was on a consultancy contract over in the States for 6 weeks. And what's amazing is I managed to blag them that I was there. That's a different story. So my biggest fear was, okay, one, going out, being called disruptive, you know, being the first to go is, oh, everyone wants to do that, right? And then having to go back into the real world and somehow come with a reason as to why I should be away for 6 weeks, but it's been 2 days, because that's effectively what it was. I couldn't comprehend that. And plus, you know, all the negativity, he's ruthless, right? He'll just say, you can't be my business partner. I think he said, I can't work with disruptive people, and I'm thinking, come on then, do you know what I mean? Just whatever, just point your finger and go. And I went back to the house, and I remember this very vividly. You've got to then film the welcoming, the return sort of thing. When the cameras are done, and you've had your conversations, everyone, because of the first time someone's been fired, wants to know, what's it like, what's it this? The same thing you asked, right? No one's experienced it. And I was just so overwhelmed with emotion. So many thoughts going through your head. Like, you know, when you open a GCSE paper or whatever paper you do, and you're like, I haven't studied that. And you're like, just loads of things that you can't concentrate, whatever situation you're at. Very overwhelmed, beyond overwhelmed. And all I wanted to do was go upstairs, go to bed, but I had to kind of like, you know, show face and tell people what went on. The same thing happened, believe it or not, in a really weird instance. The only other time it happened to me is when I was watching the programme for the first time on the first Wednesday, and it was I say my episode, but I was shown a lot on that episode, and the reason I say that is not egotistical, is because on Twitter, the amount of like, I got a notification on Twitter saying, you're getting so much attention, do you want us to put special filters on? I thought that's quite cool, but I didn't. I should have done, I didn't, right? So I'm getting all these tweets, this guy's fat, he's ugly, just you name it, right? And it's not a matter of, I didn't care, I actually have no care about, I don't care what people think, but it doesn't affect me in that necessarily that way. It was just the amount of stuff, right? It was the volume of like, good, but didn't make a difference. Just like, this is really, you don't know what you got yourself into. Because I'm watching this programme, bearing in mind, I did not, and I promise you this for a fact, I did not go onto this programme to be famous, to give this talk, and I'm very, very appreciative of having the platform to be able to help, maybe inspire someone, I don't know, and maybe give you a different thought process, even whatever, right? But I didn't go on that for any of this. I didn't think about it even watching, none of that. I went because I thought, I could do this, and I fancy a business myself, and that was it. So then all of a sudden, to be in my own living room, and there was about 50 of my family came round, and they were all, I couldn't watch this episode. I was like glued to my phone on what's going on, because for me it was like 6 months ago, there was some cameras, but you got used to it, and you forget about it. You genuinely forget about it, and it comes on TV, and you're like, oh, it is what it is, and everyone's buzzing, exciting, and you're like, oh, it is what it is, and you're watching it, and you're seeing things, and this, and looking at your phone, and whatever. I couldn't go to sleep that night. It was just such a strange experience, because you start to realise, oh, this is not like a DVD recording of my wedding where just me and watching on the screen. There's another 8.4999995 whatever people watching this in the world, in the UK. That was super. So those two things were mega. Yes?
So when you're in the boardroom and you're like, with other people, you're like ripping into each other, just trying to stay in the process, and then you go back into the house, is it really awkward, or do you just switch it off once the camera stops rolling? Because it seems really awkward.
Yeah, it's a good question. One occasion I recall, for other people, it's really dependent on character. So James and I, for example, I room with James, and very close to James. Forget that he's a winner. Before he even was in that position, very, very friendly. And so James and I had an understanding, and he used to do this. It was like our little ritual, and I was in the bottom three quite a few times, as you know. So it happened quite a few times. He'd get all my clothes and put them on my bed. And the first time I was like, do you think I was going? He's like, yeah, maybe. And then but he kept doing it, and every time it was like an unwritten rule that if he did that, then I would come back and all the rest of it. It didn't work one of the times, as you know, which is unfortunate. But, so we had an understanding that was, if we come into a situation in the cafe which is dire, I'm not just talking about the actual environment, but it's just poisonous. Everyone's attacking, it's horrible, right? It's so much worse than on camera. They dumb that down massively. It's horrible. The last one in Bruges, not in Bruges, the dog collecting, the dog grooming and stuff. Andrew was screaming at me. It was horrible, right? It was just the worst. And And so James and I had this understanding that was, if there's a situation where one of us have got to go against each other, we are friends, but it's business first, we'd sort the business out, and after it's forgotten about and done. And that was my feeling with pretty much every single person. One time with Andrew, it spilled over into the evening, because we're not dissimilar characters, but we are very not similar, that's the point. But sometimes we just have different opinions. It's simple as that, right? I wanted something dry cleaning, and I was kicking off that they weren't paying for £2 in my shirt dry clean. He was like, that's ridiculous, and it just silly, stupid things. So you do get differences, like in here, you have people that you go with very well, and some that you're amicable, but actually you're just not going to be seeing them every weekend on a Saturday. So some of the girls, and it's not a sexist thing, it just happens that way, are unbelievable like that. They won't stay in the same rooms. One occasion they came back in different taxis. They do spill over, but for me personally, it didn't. Some people it does. It depends on person. Yeah. Yes.
Given you're so passionate about watches, what's your opinion on smartwatches?
Okay, good question. I like that. Good, interesting question. Someone actually asked me on LinkedIn just today. Found an article saying Rolex are making a smartwatch. What do you think? The first thing the article was back in 2015. And the fact that it's not on the market now tells you one thing, and the second thing is it just doesn't make sense. But this watch on my wrist is actually a smartwatch, believe it or not. It's called a horological smartwatch. I don't want to go into too much depth, but it's basically a classic looking watch that has some smart functionality. It can't take phone calls and stuff, but it's got some interesting functionality. So my opinion is this, like, I'm not a watch snob, right? I do have a Rolex, I told you, I have a Cartier, a few nice pieces, people would say. I also have a watch that I bought from £10 from a market store because I like the dial colour, it's purple, it's from the 50s, whatever else it is. If you love it, you wear it, enjoy it, fine. You don't buy a smartwatch for investment, you buy it because you love it, you enjoy it, and you wear it, right? So it's people have to understand, it's like, you buy a Ferrari. You never buy a Ferrari for investment unless it's a 20-year-old Ferrari and you're spending 10 million quid in it, and maybe one day you'll make money. Actually, it tanks the minute you take it out the drive, doesn't it? It just depends on why you're buying the piece. My opinion is, if you love them, great. I personally have a tag watch as well, a tag connected smartwatch. Don't enjoy it, don't see the point, but I understand if you're really active and you like Apple products and you want to take a phone call, great. I tried it. I had one day, I had a phone call, my phone coming in, they say they didn't want to answer it, then I was in a meeting, then it rings on my laptop, then it rings on my phone, on my watch. I'm like, oh my god, that was enough for me after about 2 or 3 days. So again, horses for courses. I'm not snobby and saying they're terrible or whatever. Yeah. Any others? Yes.
Who would you say your inspirations are now and were when you were growing up?
Okay, good question. There've always been people that are leaders in their industries and are outliers. There's a very good book that maybe you'll read, maybe you won't read, or just read a bit of it. It's called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. And it basically is a similar vein to what I was saying. It tells you that 10,000 hours of practice at any one thing, which is near enough 10 years, makes you an expert at something. And there's people like Bill Gates, and you look at these people, forget their wealth, but what they've actually achieved, or Zuckerberg, or those sort of people. For me, the person that I look at and think, wow, is Jeff Bezos. And it's nothing to do with the size of his business or all the rest of it. It's because he's so simple what he actually does. If you actually read about him, there's a very good book, and I forget its name, at the Everything Store. It's not a biography, but it's near enough. A biography is, well, not autobiography. It's all his business is focused about the customer. I'm always about that, right? That's, I think, the key to success. And whatever you're doing, whether it's a patient, are you a doctor, whether it's a student, you're a teacher, you have to focus on the person that is, forget paying your services, but wants your attention or time, right? And I think he's the master at that. And my second person, I would say, is Elon Musk, because I look at what he's done, and in one particular week, he's launched and landed a SpaceX rocket. What else did he do? He had the biggest order book with Tesla at 13 billion or something, which is bigger than, I think, a whole General Motors month in one day. Biggest, most successful launch ever. And something else on other companies. And the stuff that he's doing when he's talking, it's just amazing. He's got this boring company trying to kind of, bore holes into the ground to prevent traffic. And that is inspirational, right? Forget that he's worth billions of pounds. This is what I'm trying to say. The money that comes out of it, that's the result of him being inspirational. It's not, he isn't chasing kind of again another billion quid. If that was the case, he'd retire by now, right? It's not interesting to him. He's interested in go, how can I put that money that I've earned from PayPal into something else that changes things. Because look what he's done. He's revolutionised PayPal, the banking sector. He's gone into cars. Everything he's gone into, by the way, people have said, no way, going to work, not going to happen. So I love people that kind of go against the grain and do something different. Yeah. Yes.
With Bruges in particular, did you ever have to like reshoot with the people who are on the tour? So did they ever get like annoyed?
Okay, so yeah, it's an interesting question because what people don't realise is that tour is a real tour. People are paid real money. They are actually on a real cruise, right? They're not set up as actors. I cynically, skeptically think they are, but they're not, I'm told. I don't think they are actually. So they could go on 1,000,001 different options and do different things, different tours. They decided to go on this tour and we're taking their good money. They're only there for one day, remember, and it goes back. There's a huge responsibility on that. And yeah, there were times we had a Henry on our tour, because if you remember Andrew said, I'll give you a skinful of beer and all that whole nonsense. And yeah, there's massive pressure, because I'm not just I'm not working for the Apprentice now, that's not what I'm doing. I'm actually responsible for someone's whole weekend, and they might have spent, that might be their one trip a year they're going on. It's you don't think of that stuff. And similarly when a negotiator builds businesses, this is their business, it's not a program. I'm in the program, but it's not set up. So there were no instances of reshooting, but there was certainly instances of getting peeved off. I'll put it that way. Yeah. Yes.
Last one.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Last one.
Hi.
So, you know how you're saying you do 20 hours a day for risky business?
Yeah.
And sometimes there are more stable jobs that pay, and eventually with pay rises. Wouldn't it be better to get stable jobs since you always get that money, it eventually rises, you spend more time with your family, and risky businesses, there's more times you're going to fail in.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And I had the same discussion before with some of the students who arranged the talk. I'm not sat here telling you to go to risky business, to work 20-hour days. I'm not suggesting, I'm looking at myself, how can I spend more time with my family and all that sort of stuff, and what's important, it really just come to that. And I'm not suggesting that getting a stable job, and like you say, it's a very wise thing to say, absolutely, is not the right thing to do. I'm just saying, find what your right thing to do is. So for me, I have an understanding with my family, my wife, that is, I'm on this journey, and that, at some point in time, whether it's in 6 months, a year, or whatever else, I'm providing a certain lifestyle and certain things that I might be taking the foot off the gas a little bit. That's how I like to work, right? Whereas you might, rightly so, and people in this room might think, actually, I'd rather slowly, steadily win the race. And that's fine. There's no right or wrong. I'm not suggesting for 1 minute you've got to be the next Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and all those sort of people whatsoever. So it's a really good point. And it's a nice way to cap the talk off, actually, because what I'm not saying here is, quit school, do this, do that, do all these rash decisions. It's about being calculated and thinking about why you're doing what you're doing, and logical with things, and following really your passion. That's what I'd say. But be proactive. So proactively follow your passion, not reactive. And thank you very much, guys. Hope you appreciate it.